Hi, and welcome to a beautiful Vermont summer early afternoon. And today I'm taking you out to show you the vegetable garden, which is starting to really get going. Here we go. All right, here is our garden. We have 9 raised beds, and then we also have, kind of behind over here, a long garden along the edge of our yard. There's a little bank behind that. So I've got some pots with flowers here, and those are doing really nicely this year. Sometimes I have trouble with pots. I water them too much or I water them too little, but these are looking really nice. It's a lot of zinnias. There's some volunteer borage that came up from last year, and nasturtiums, which are going to trail and be really beautiful over the sides. So this first biggest bed, I've been slowly reclaiming. This was a field of weeds. I have this chicken wire in all of my raised beds. You can see it there on the ground, to keep the cats from using the beds as litter boxes, but it also makes it really hard for me to weed. And this garden has some big plants in it that are still getting going. I have some volunteer dill and cilantro, so I didn't want to do a whole lot because I wanted those, but I did put some basil here, and this is lemon balm that does need to get moved because it's taking over. I've actually weeded a lot of it out, and it's still giant. So I'm going to dry a lot of that for tea, and then I need to move it before the end of the summer because it's taking over. I didn't know it would do so well. All right, so what I did plant in this garden, it's just not begun to take off yet, because this, let's see, we are the first day of July, so things are going to start growing fast. But here is a ground cherry. I have a lot of ground cherries in another bed, volunteers, and this was one of those. I moved over here because I knew I wanted to shade this garden out since it's going to be so difficult to weed. So that is doing pretty well for being transplanted. Here I have 2 Long Island cheese pumpkins, and I'm debating whether I'm going to pull one of those out or not. I probably should just have one, but I realized that I forgot to plant, I forgot to keep 2 of my Howden pumpkins, which are the big like jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. And we usually do 1 plant for each kid because there's 1 pumpkin on each plant. So I'm not going to have 2 Howden pumpkins. I might want extra Long Island cheese. Those are a good eating pumpkin, but they're also, I think, a pretty good size. So maybe a nice jack-o'-lantern for somebody. Then the other big viney thing I have in here is gourd. I will just only keep 1 of these. There's 2 there. I want to make sure that the one I'm going to keep stays alive before I pick the other one out. So those 3 things they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be in this path. They're going to be on that patio, probably up on these benches in the yard, and hopefully also shading out this bed. Now coming over here, I have my tomatoes. I'm trying to move tomatoes around each year so that anything getting into the soil stays where it is and doesn't travel with them. These are still reaching up to my trellis, but once they are there, these are indeterminate, so they're going to grow, and this is a pretty high trellis, and I'll just weave them through. I won't need to tie them or anything. I did tie this one just to hold it straight, and I might do that here as well. And then as these are growing, I need to do this today. I prune off the bottom quite a bit, maybe at least halfway up to the bottom of this trellis, which the bottom of the trellis is way up here. So all these leaves, so that we have wet summers, so that the water from rain is not splashing up and getting on these leaves and causing bacteria and blight. I have a little parsley here. I seeded parsley and put it in the garden, and slugs ate it. I had a little bit of a sluggy spring, and the plants were just too small. They just devoured them. That happened to my celery this year too. So I did buy 1 start and put it in. Hopefully this one, they are biennial. And usually I have good luck with parsley coming right back in the spring, and then I have early greens. I did not have that luck this year, so we'll see what happens next year. I have some kale here. This is all self-seeded. And then a little bit of lemon oregano. I moved a lot of this into my flower garden, and I might end up moving this too, but for now it's pretty and it's fine there. It gets big. oregano takes over as lemon balm. Here I've got my peppers. So this is a bell pepper. This is the first time I'm doing bell peppers, so we'll see how that goes. Then I have these are, I believe, shishitos at this end, and these are a less spicy jalapeno. I think it's called Craig's Grand Pepper jalapeno, maybe. This is getting kind of covered by my chives. These are chives right here. The flowers are done, but we're still enjoying the plant. I have tarragon. This is a perennial herb that just keeps coming back. So these two are, and they don't spread too much. They just kind of get slowly bigger. The tarragon I've been eating a lot with my eggs this spring, so it's not had a chance to get very big. I might let that go and take a break on eating it for a little while. Then the other side of this bed, ready to climb this arch trellis here, are cucumbers. I've got mini cucumbers on this end and regular sized cucumbers on this end. I didn't have great germination, but there's enough there. I did a lot of cucumbers last year. We still have dill pickles. We just ran out of sweet pickles. But I think this will still be enough for us to make some pickles, and then these will just be for snacking on. Or maybe I'll make gherkins. We'll see. Over here behind me now on the other side of this arched trellis, it comes down into this bed, and I have climbing zucchini. I did quite a few because we really like, from the Ball canning book, their zucchini relish. It's called zesty zucchini relish, and it is so good. I did not make enough of it last year. So I tried to plant more zucchini, and this climbs beautifully. Like the tomatoes, I just weave the leaves in and they go up and stay really well that way. So this is the bed that has all of those ground cherry volunteers. There's quite a few. This one is really a good size. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do here. I mean, there's nothing else planted in this bed. I could do bush beans. That's a short season thing that I could get in still. But I might just, take it easy a little bit this year. Let those ground cherries go. Maybe we'll have a lot of ground cherries this year, because I think there's some more volunteers in the lawn garden too. And then onions here, which when those come out, I can also put bush beans in there, or edamame we like to do. That's another quick one. That's just like a month and a half until those are ready. So that is these 3 beds. And then over here, these 2 beds were compromised the most by the cats last summer because they were a little bit open, so they could really get into them. The other beds I feel pretty comfortable with because they were densely planted, but these were not. So I'm not eating out of these 2 beds this year. I planted a lot of flowers. I planted a lot of seeds, a lot just I tossed in. What ended up coming up the most in this bed, it was borage. So we have lots of borage, and that'll be really nice and pretty. There's a kale plant on the end. I'll let go to seed. And then let's see, I have a Jack B. Little pumpkin, and I believe that's this. And those are really prolific and big, and that'll really cover this side of the trellis. I have got some morning glories on this is actually on this end, a scarlet runner bean. The other end is a morning glory. This bed ended up being calendula and sunflowers. So these are the calendula here, all these little ones, and then sunflowers are these guys, and then there's one back there. I have another morning glory getting ready to climb this side of the trellis, and then I can't remember what these 2 plants are. Some sort of squash, decorative, that I would not be eating. I have to look that up. Maybe I wrote it down, or maybe we will be surprised. So then over to our lawn garden here, I've got some comfrey that I just chop and drop in any bed that seems like it could use some extra feeding. These 2 shrub type things are hazelnuts, and this is the 4th or 5th summer for those hazelnuts. So we should be getting some nuts, and we did have some sort of flower, kind of like a long, skinny, flowery type thing in the early spring, late winter. So I'm hoping that means we have something coming. We haven't seen anything yet, but that would be exciting because we've been waiting for these hazelnuts for a long time. In the middle, I have some garlic chives Those are perennial. They just keep coming back. And then a lot of weeds and some zinnias. So there's zinnia there and over here. And I need to get in here. And I could, you know, I know the cat uses this too. So I probably won't put any food here. But at least keep it so those zinnias don't get choked out. Now down this bed, I haven't done this here before, but this year I'm doing peas and green beans. So, and I've got some lettuce that was early spring. These I'm letting go to seed. And then I put some zinnias kind of on each pole. There's a zinnia, so that should be pretty. And all of these are doing really well. These get good sun, and they get good sun early. This is the earliest spot to get sun in the morning in my garden. And what my hope is that maybe, I know I haven't looked this up a lot yet, so I don't know the planting schedule for fruit trees, but I'm hoping that sometime maybe later in the summer or in the early fall, I could get some dwarf trees, pull all this stuff out, plant trees, and then let in between go to grass that Joe could just mow between. Now I have to sell him on this idea still. I need to let him know the numbers, like how big would these trees get, because that's what he needs to know. But I don't think they need to be very big. And the lesson learned here is we didn't plant any sort of fruit trees or berries really, because we thought this would be a 10-year house, but now it's been 10 years and we're not moving. We will still move sometime, but not yet. So now I know, whether you think you're moving or not soon, just plant the stuff, because it doesn't take long to start producing, and then you have it. And we could have had it for a long time now, but I'm not going to make that mistake again. We still plan on moving. You know, if we move before we get many years of our trees, should we do it, I'm just going to be okay with that. So there it is. Oh, I didn't talk about the garlic. Here it is. This small bed. I did much less garlic, about half as much as usual, because we had so much left over. I'm still using it up from last year. So I just harvested the scapes, and I'm going to go inside today and blend those up just with enough water to get them going, and freeze them in little small amounts for cooking right from frozen. And we will harvest these sometime in July. They're already, I mean, it's probably getting close. Towards the end of this month, we'll probably pull up this garlic. And I do have some little snapdragons in here. I had snapdragons in this bed last year, and they came back, or they seeded themselves. I don't know, but I will enjoy those, especially when the garlic comes out and we can see them better. This is going to be some scarlet runner beans going up this pole, which is just there for decorative. And this year it's holding the Japanese beetle trap, which will hopefully work because they really eat our stuff. And in this bed, when these come out, I will probably do bush beans. I've got a bug around me, a deer fly. I'll probably do bush beans or edamame. And that is our early summer garden.